This is the Powakaddy FX3 electric trolley, and this is the Motocaddy M1. I've used both of these trolleys out on the golf course for several months, so I'm gonna let you know all the good stuff, all the bad stuff, and actually which one I think is the best. Starting with price, the Powakaddy FX3 retails for £600, although I have seen it for around the £550 mark, and the Motocaddy M1 retails for £650, but again, I've regularly seen it for sale at around that £600 mark. So that's 1-0 to the Powakaddy. Next up, let's take a look at the batteries of both of these. So the Powakaddy has a 30-volt battery and the Motocaddy has a 28-volt, both of which running on a 230-watt motor. So there's not too much difference there between the two. Where there is a big difference is how you charge them. So with the Powakaddy, you have to take the battery off the trolley and then you charge it with the port on the back. With the Motocaddy, you can take it off the trolley if you want. It's nice and easy to pull out. However, you can actually just charge it while left in the trolley. So you unplug the port there and you plug the charger straight in. So that means that potentially with the Powakaddy, if you take the battery off and then charge it in your house, forget that you did that, you could easily take the trolley to the golf course and leave the battery at home. I know, I've done that twice. Compare that to the Motocaddy, if you've got the ability to charge the trolley, keeping the battery in it, that's never gonna happen. Of course, if you do take the battery out and charge it away, you still run that risk. But for me personally, I prefer to have the option to charge the battery on the trolley, so that's a point to the Motocaddy. Let's talk about the screens. So both of them have color LCD displays, and to be fair, both of them are quite small. The Powakaddy has a widescreen display. Don't know why it needs to be widescreen because you're not watching any films on it, whereas the Motocaddy has a slightly squarer one. I've got to say, looking at the two between them now, the Powakaddy has got the clearer screen. It is just much brighter and easier to read in the sun. Also, I think it is a little bit easier to tell how much battery life you've got on the Powakaddy because you've just got 3 little notches on the battery there. Compared to the Motocaddy, when you power it on, I think you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different levels of battery power. So when it comes to the screens, I'm giving that point to the Powakaddy. Next, let's talk about how compact they actually fold down, because that is really, really important if space is at a premium in the boot of your car. With the Powakaddy, you've just got 1 notch here and you just pull that in and it folds down both the handles, and that is as small as that folds down without taking the wheels off. With the Motocaddy, you flick this switch here and then you flick the back one there and you pull it towards, and you can see the front wheel folds in on itself. And so actually, the Motocaddy is significantly smaller here compared to the Powakaddy in terms of your height. Handily as well, you've also got, this handle. So the actual bag strap at the top turns into a handle, so it's nice and easy to move. With the Powakaddy, you know, there's no real easy way to kind of pick this up and move it. You might end up getting dirty hands where you grab it by the wheel. Now, while the width for these two units is the same, they're both about 86 centimeters wide, the Motocaddy has an extra trick up its sleeve. So what you can do is just easily flick the wheels off, and then, there we go, spin it around the other way and clip it on. And if I do it on the other side as well, so spin that wheel around the other way, clip that wheel back on, and you can see there that now you really have reduced the size of the Motocaddy. So if space is at a premium, then definitely the Motocaddy wins this round. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you can take the wheels off of the Powakaddy as well and store them separately. Oh, but you can see there, it doesn't necessarily like standing up quite as easy on the Powakaddy, and yeah, well, now it's not going to stand up without the wheels on it. Let's compare the overall design of both these units. Now, while they're both still packed down, I'm just going to spin them around. So first of all, I've already mentioned, you've got the handy carry handle on the Motocaddy, which you don't really have on the Powakaddy. Now, if I spin them around there, actually, there's another design feature there between the two, because the Motocaddy is designed so that the handle isn't resting on the floor. What I found is the Powakaddy's handles actually got damaged over time when I'm taking it in and out of the car. Compare that to the Motocaddy, I've not really had that problem whatsoever. Now, as I mentioned at the start, the Powakaddy just has this 1 button mechanism there, so it clips the top and the bottom in place. So that is really simple to use. With the Motocaddy, you've got 2 latches instead. So you've got the latch on the top, and then you've got this latch at the rear. You undo both of those, the front wheel folds out, and then you clip them both in place. That's not particularly difficult. Yes, it's an extra clip. I'm not sure whether that's enough to score the point to the Powakaddy. Also, with having the handle set up this way, if you do want to adjust the height, you just undo that top clip and you move it up and down and then clip it in place. With the Powakaddy, if you want to adjust the height, you have to get your screwdriver out and adjust that little bit right there. Both of the trolleys use their own proprietary locking system for their own cart bags that fit onto the trolleys. So with the Motocaddy, you've got the easy lock system, and with the Powakaddy, you have the key lock system. But again, both bags can be used with universal bags really, so that's not a problem. The Powakaddy has a couple of little spots here for T's and a little hook if you want to clamp it onto, and then you can also get an accessory mount that fits onto the top of the bag there. With the Motocaddy, there's no spot for the T's, there's nowhere to hang anything off of. What I think quite a key difference between the two is that with the Motocaddy, you have got a USB charger right here on the handle, so you can charge your phone or your GPS unit while you're out on the course. With the Powakaddy, you have to go up a couple of models before you get that as a feature. Something else that you get with the Motocaddy M1 that you don't get with the FX3 is that you get distance control. So you hold the dial down there in terms of the speed mode, and then that will flash up with an option 1, 2, or 3, which means you can set it to automatically go 15, 30, or 45 yards. Again, with the Powakaddy, that's a feature you get when you spend more money on higher level models. Using the two out on the course, I've got to say that I actually prefer the system on the Powakaddy. The dial has a little bit more resistance to it, and it's not so easy to accidentally turn the unit on and off. Compare that to the Motocaddy, it is very sensitive, so it's quite easy if you just hold your hands while you're walking along to accidentally turn it up really high or really slow, and even just easily just click it and accidentally turn it on or off. I've done that several times when the Motocaddy's gone over some bumps out on the course. Interestingly, while we're talking about them being out on the course as well, there is a difference in terms of the quietness of these two units. Personally, I found that the Motocaddy is the quieter one to use. With the Powakaddy, the actual battery tends to rattle around a little bit on the inside there, and I have found that the motor is a little bit louder with the Powakaddy. However, this unit is about a year older. In terms of design, each of them have their own unique features, but for me, I do prefer the feature set that comes with the M1 compared to the FX3. I like the fact that it's got the USB charger, I like the fact that it's got the distance control if you want to use it, and the fact that it folds down significantly smaller compared to the Powakaddy is a big plus for me because I've got quite a small car. Lastly, I want to talk about the wheels. So in terms of the ones that come out of the box, I haven't really got anything to choose between the two, other than the fact that the Motocaddy ones are reversible when you put it into storage, but I'm not going to consider that in this part of the test because I've already included that in terms of the design test with the Motocaddy. However, if you are going to be using this here in the UK, then you are going to need to buy separate winter wheels. Both of these wheels cost a similar kind of price. I think they're in the £90 range that I paid for each of these, but you can see they are very different designs. So the Powakaddies have got a thicker design that have got all these holes in compared to the Motocaddy, which is a thinner hedgehog design, but as you can see there, there's got all these spikes on the back. Now, I've used both of these types of wheels over the winter months here in the UK, and I've got to say that personally, I prefer the hedgehog. I found that they gave more traction. With the Powakaddies, as you can see here, the holes just fill up with mud pretty quick if it is considerably muddy out on the golf course, and then it kind of loses traction really. It doesn't really do the job. Also, because the wheels are actually significantly smaller and more squat compared to the standard ones, then it does affect the actual performance of the trolley, it does slow it down a bit. With the Motocaddies, I found that these were really easy to clean, they gave better traction, and just didn't make too much of a difference to the trolley. So in terms of the wheels, I've got to say, that's another one to the Motocaddy. Actually, that is another difference between the two. With the Powakaddy, you have loads of grease on the axle. That's just part of the way that that wheel and axle system is designed. With the Motocaddy, didn't have any of that out of the box. So my hand's currently covered in axle grease. So by my maths, that means that the Motocaddy has outscored the Powakaddy 4 points to 2. And generally, that's been my experience using both of these out on the golf course. My personal preference is to spend a little bit extra money and get the additional features that the Motocaddy comes with. That being said, if space isn't necessarily an issue in the boot of your car, then you might want to consider saving yourself a little bit of money and going with the FX3 instead, because it is still definitely a viable option. And in terms of them both being good electric trolleys, well, they are. Smash that like button if you found this video helpful so that others can see it. And don't forget, I've included any discount links and codes that I've got for either of these trolleys down in the description below. And if you're still not sure what one to buy, then why not check out my full in-depth reviews of both the Powakaddy FX3 and the Motocaddy M1.